sing unto Yahweh, let all the earth call, bless his name and show forth his salvation from day to day. Declare his glory amongst the...
Shalom, shalom, Israel's brother right here. And so today we got a video, and it's amazing that all of a sudden, Zion Lexxs destroys the Lashawan Qadosh. Man, we've been telling this dude here for years. We've been on this dude for years. He has most of the Paradigm crew blocked from years ago, including my teachers and whatnot. They've been trying to challenge him on all kinds of things, and he just blocks them. He blocks everybody. And I'm going to show y'all proof of that. But all of a sudden, he's acting like he's bringing out some type of new information when we've been bringing out this information for over 10 years, right? And so I'm going to, and then also too, I'm going to show you guys. So let's go ahead and get started.
Like you said, we got the presentation, the PowerPoint. You ready to jump in?
I'm absolutely ready to jump in, man. I'm almost want to say, I don't know why I'm off the hook. I was looking for a panel, man. I was hoping that some other people would join the panel.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna put it out there, and everybody watch. How many people we got watching? We got. Hey man, y'all gotta hit. First off, y'all gotta hit the share button. We just under 100. We need to at least get 150, 100, 200 people in here, right? Because y'all about to get blown away. I will say this though, for anyone who asks, why is there no one here to have the discussion? I reached out. All of the Lashawan Qadosh, the experts, or
that's because it's fake, man. They run like I showed you on this post right here. This post right here, right? Well, this post right here. As you can see, this brother Lashawan Qadosh still have not answered. Run. That's what they do. Home of the truth.
Those who know the language, I did reach out. There was one brother, he said when we open the phone lines, he's going to try and call in. Other than that, and that was the brother Ariala. He couldn't make it because he had something else going on, which is understandable. But for everybody else, I've been reaching out. Nobody wanted to.
Brother Ariala too. I've commented on his stuff too. This brother right here, right? The brother Eliel, me and him were having a conversation, right? And he says, just so you know, there are brothers trying to revise the Lashawan too. We know there are mistakes. So who like that? Ariala and that host of this show. But you see me explaining this right here. Yod Hey Bait. Arm, man with a raised arm in the house. Yachab. And I explained all this right here. And what does he do? You would think he would want me on the show to kind of, or somebody who can explain like this right there. And I've shown that. But what does he do? He asks Panah, does he want to be on this show for part 2? This is how they gatekeep information, man. It's how they be gatekeeping. If you don't agree with them, or if you could prove them wrong or stuff like that, then they won't allow you on the show. They have the platforms with all the people, so I mean, you have no choice. But rather not. But this is what I'll be saying right here: gatekeeping information, this and that. But we're going to continue. And then afterwards, I want to show you over the years how we have been trying, or my teacher and them have been trying to get at Zion Lexxs, and how he has been ducking, running, and hiding over some of the same information that he claims is new and groundbreaking right here. December 5th, right? Stream live, December 5th.
I think you intimidate people, brother. I think that's what it is. That's just my thought process. But I say that to say this: if we're gonna do something, if we're gonna live on something, stand 10 toes down on something, we should know how to defend it, or at least have a conversation about why we're doing it, even if we disagree. We need to at least know why we're doing it. So, with that being said, we will open the phone lines if y'all want to call in. If you got questions, if on a Clubhouse, if you got questions, we will bring individuals up one at a time to the stage. We will open the phone lines and we will take a phone call. This is how it's going to go, so it doesn't get long and drawn out. If you're calling, or if you're on the Clubhouse, if you call in or on the Clubhouse, you have either one question or comment, make your comment or ask your question. And after you get your response, then you can follow up with another question or comment. And after that, we're going to get to the next person. Typically, sometimes we have the phone lines blocked up for 5 and 10 minutes and people can't get through. So, all right. So we're going to do it that way just to make sure we understand. When you call in or if you come up to the Clubhouse stage, one question or comment, then once you get your response, you could get a follow-up question or comment. Then after that, we're going to move to the next person. We want to make sure everybody get a chance to either call in or come to the stage if they want to. But we're going to go ahead and jump to the PowerPoint presentation. And we got it. So whatever you want to start, King, it's on you.
All right, excellent. So the first thing I want to say is this. Where often we go wrong in the Israelite community is that we want to separate ourselves from everything that is European and that is specifically Jewish. And I don't have a problem with that. I'm actually...
Now, I agree and I disagree, right? Because the grammar is the grammar. Whether you're European or whether you're an Israelite or whether you just a convert or not, the grammar is the grammar. It does not change, okay? And that's the problem that a lot of these people have, right? And if you follow me and you see my videos, you see that I debate European Jews too. But the thing about it is that I go into the grammar and they have to concede, because I show for the grammar. But a lot of brothers don't. They use the English, and the English is very erroneous.
An advocate of that to a certain extent and measure. I'll explain what that means in a couple of moments. But I also want to say this and get something for the record. Just as the European Jew is responsible in bulk for the preservation of our texts, none of us are printing texts. None of us are reproducing.
And this is true. And this is why I say you can't dismiss any and everything. You have to research it. You have to learn the Hebrew grammar and the language. And you have to go into it, do a deep dive yourself. And you even have to fact check these brothers over here. Any and everything you have to fact check. And you have to go into the language in the Hebrew grammar and see, is this brother lying? Is this in the perfect form? Is this imperfect? Is it a hifil? Is it a cause stem? Okay, all those things mean something in the Hebrew grammar. It alters the verse, it alters the text. Okay, that's why I am a proponent of everybody learning Hebrew. I'm not trying to get anybody to follow me. I want you to learn the language for yourself so you can teach your family the correct way. It has nothing to do about following. I don't care about followers. What I care about is everybody being able to learn the language themselves and decipher between truth and lies and stop following liars.
The books, just as they have been safeguarding these works for years, and we are now coming back into our own identity and are reclaiming these things. I want to say to many of us that there's many more things that they have co-opted. I want to say stolen, that we have not reclaimed as yet because some of us still think it belongs to them. So on that note, I want to say, obviously, one of the greatest disagreements in our community is how the language is to be spoken. You have a group of Israelites that are proponents of what is called Lashawan Qadosh. Lashawan Qadosh is based on the One West premise of learning and understanding biblical Hebrew, and they're the ones that primarily champion it. There are many, many splinter groups that come from One West that continue that strain of thought, and I think where the lines become blurred or construed is where grammar, syntax, and morphology come into the conversation. So what I mean by that is oftentimes when I encounter new Israelites, that when they hear me speak Hebrew, they say, "Oh, why you speak the Yiddish? You're so knowledgeable. Why you doing that?"
And I get that too. And I just ask them. I'll just put some Yiddish and Hebrew there and ask them which one is Hebrew and which one is Yiddish. Hebrew and Yiddish is different. Yiddish is just like English. Subject is a SVO, subject verb object. Hebrew is VSO, verb subject object. Okay, so when you tell people that the English that you're typing is way more closer than Yiddish than the biblical Hebrew that you say that I'm speaking that you say is Yiddish, they don't understand. Because why? Most people didn't pay attention in English grammar school. Okay, they thought that it was boring. That's not our fault, but they are wrong, because English, just like Yiddish, is a SVO, subject verb object, and Hebrew is a VSO, verb subject object.
That ain't that the white man way of speaking Hebrew? You saying shalom. I just greeted you saying shalom, and you hit me back with shalom. What, what's that about? And there was a time I used to get annoyed by that, but today I understand it, right? Because humility and growth, they should coincide. So as you grow, you get a little bit more humility. So in responding to people like that, I usually say to them, all right, who have you learned from? What have you learned?
Yeah, Brother Ron Devine right here, Kingdom Harbor Ministries. Biblical Hebrew is obviously what the manuscripts reflect. So that's another thing. That is true. But all these people that y'all put on a pedestal, man, they fuck with my teachers. They ask my teachers questions. Shael, Mitz, and the way that y'all, the way that we get blackballed on these platforms is crazy, because the people that y'all uphold on pedestals, they come to our teachers, especially when they have debates against Kemet and all them. I've been in the community for 13 years, man. Nasi Yashavel, the Kemet on trial, Polite, all the Sinetta, all of them. I used to help when Nasi was getting ready for his debate. I was part of a group that used to help him. Me, him, Partner Hesse, all of them, man. I've been around. And I've seen a lot of things. A lot of things. I've been Old Testament only. I've been in this truth for 13, almost 14 years. I was only with a camp for 6 months before I started getting into the Hebrew, and I seen that, oh, man, these niggas lying. Okay? So I've been Old Testament only for a long time and been delving into Hebrew for a long time. But he's correct here. That's why you need to learn it, so you can see the Hebrew thought. You need to learn what an imperfect form is, what a perfect verb is, what a Hitfield stem form is, what a call stem form is, what a PL stem form is, and what it does. You need to know these things because it alters how you, the context of the verse.
And did you ever take the time to study biblical Hebrew, going through textual criticism based on biblical Hebrew manuscripts? Have you ever sat under a teacher or group of teachers, a conglomerate of academians, to learn the...
And I agree. I sit up under that. I have teachers. My teacher is a professor of ancient languages, biblical Hebrew, Aramaic, and Ugaritic. My teacher speaks all three. He's teaching us all three. You have to have a teacher that's has some type of academia. That's why my teacher is heavy on his students, which is us, of writing academic papers, right? And submitting them to academia and having them peer reviewed and having them play. So when one of y'all Israelites try to challenge us, we can pull up and say, what academic papers have you written? I agree with him on this point.
Grammar, the syntax, the morphology, the structure of the language. Have you done that at all? Most people will say, oh, I learned it in the camp. And, that's fine. I'm not saying that there aren't any camp teachers out there that may possess a good working knowledge of Hebrew. But I also ask the other question. Did you ever learn it in any recognized academic space? Like, did you learn it in college? Did you take it as a prerequisite at, this particular institution? And when you start going in that direction, you start to find out that for a vast majority of our people, their knowledge of Hebrew is what they heard a teacher say on Instagram, Clubhouse, YouTube,
facts.
And this is
here
facts.
and there, but nobody really
because Israelites are lazy. They are lazy. They don't want to go back to school. That would mean go back to school. They're lazy.
Sat under anyone to learn. So what's happening now is you have a lot of grossly unlearned people parroting other grossly unlearned people, to the extent now that the unlearned people are seen as the authority and the people who actually know the language are seen as the novice. You see the challenge here?
Facts. I definitely see it. Facts.
Right? So there was a time I ridiculed that thinking, but humility changes your position and your take.
Yeah, well, tonight, what we got, is the brother's about to break down the presentation. So it's not just conversation. It's just not believe me because I said so. One of the things people on social
We'll skip ahead.
When black people get mad, it's like they're talking over a fence. Hey, excuse me.
Social media claim that Hebrew and Yiddish are the same language. People often tell me, "Ak, why are you speaking in Yiddish?" When I present in class, my newer students will always come in saying, "Oh, I joined your Hebrew class. I was expecting to look at only the paleo, but you got the Yiddish up here." So here's where I want to begin. Some on social media claim Hebrew and Yiddish are the same language. However, Hebrew is a Semitic language like Arabic. Yiddish is a Germanic and Slavic language. Yiddish and Hebrew use the same alphabet. Yiddish and Hebrew share a few words but pronounce them differently. So if everyone looks to the right of the screen at the bottom, Yiddish uses the Hebrew alphabet to write words that are primarily German in origin, mixed with Slavic, Aramaic, and Hebrew elements. Although the script is Hebrew, the grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation of Yiddish are not Hebrew. They follow Germanic linguistic roots. Thus, Yiddish is a Germanic language written in Hebrew letters, not a form of Hebrew itself. To demonstrate that point, I have the scroll of Isaiah chapter 34 and verse 14 to be specific, from the Dead Sea Scrolls, as well as the Leningrad Codex, Masoretic text of Isaiah 34 and 14, just to compare the actual writing. This is key. We know that the Dead Sea Scrolls go back as early to 250 BC and come closer into history as late as 4 to 5 and even 600 CE or Common Era. I want everyone to just look and examine the script on the screen. Anyone that can read modern Hebrew can read the Dead Sea Scrolls because they are quite literally the same exact script. So anyone saying that the modern Hebrew or biblical Hebrew script is the Yiddish in terms of a script or writing system is grossly inaccurate. Because Yiddish, number one, is about vernacular. It's not about orthography. It's not about writing. Yiddish is a dialect. It is not a script. In order to write Yiddish, you're going to use Hebrew letters. So for instance, on the bottom left of the screen, you have the Hebrew word for day, right? When I see my brothers, I might say something like Yom Tov, right? You having a good day, right? In Yiddish, that's completely different because day in Hebrew is Yom, but in Yiddish, it's Tag. Now, if you look close.
Same thing we've been telling people for years. And I'm going to play a video of my teacher, something just recently that he's been going on and showing about the Lashawan Qadosh. Okay, we've been talking about this for years.
They're both using Hebrew alphabetic consonants, but clearly the language is different. Yom is how you say day in Hebrew, and Tag is how you say day in Yiddish. Similarly, Lila, my children, my wife, every night, as we're closing out the night, I look at them and I say Lila Tov. I do that with my class. Lila Tov, good night. The way to say night in Yiddish is not Lila. It's Nachat, Nechet. That's not Hebrew at all, not even close. There's no word in Hebrew for night, darkness, in between darkness, that would give you Nechet. That is completely foreign to Hebrew. So what I'm saying is, at this point, clearly many in our community are grossly misled when they simply look at this script that we're looking at.
I'm going to skip it on.
Brothers giving a powerful presentation. We do not want to take from that. Let's keep the
listen to what
the
he
focus
says
right here where it is.
This is what I want to get to.
All right, so what we're going to do is listen to about 3 minutes of a video. I might even stop it before and just go on to the next slide. The person that I'm interviewing, his name is Abud Kohen. He's the current grandson of the Samaritan high priest in Israel. So we know biblically there are people called the Samaritans that are brought into Israel during the Assyrian exile. They came into the land since the Assyrian exile until present day. They don't use, what is called Kitab Ashurit, which some people call the modern Hebrew script. They don't use that. They use Paleo-Hebrew. And they don't speak Hebrew the way that it is spoken today. They say they speak ancient Hebrew. So when I interviewed him, one of the things I said to him, because I happen to have already known this, I said to him, because I learned this in college. So I said to him, would you demonstrate for us, reading in Genesis, the difference between how biblical Hebrew sounds via the Masoretic pronunciation versus ancient Hebrew? So the Samaritan Jews as a people group, they certainly preserve ancient Hebrew because they did not buy into much of the ideology of the oral tradition. They don't follow the Masoretic texts. They don't follow rabbinic thought. They have their own traditions, and they only follow the first 5 books. They read other areas of Tanakh, but their foundation, they say, is in the first 5 books, and they only speak what they call the ancient Hebrew. So I said, how does that sound? So I want you to press play on this interview, and let's see how ancient Hebrew sounds, because in our community, we're taught that Lashawan Qadosh is the ancient Hebrew. And ancient Hebrew has 2 sounds, ah and I. Divine Prospect is in the building. Dr. Divine Prospect, Dr. Ron Shields is in the building. I'm sure he would resonate when I say there's a lot of issues with that. Because to say that a language has 2 sounds, ah and I, is automatically problematic. Because when you join consonantal letters with vowels, there's a new sound produced, which is called a diphthong. Lashawan Qadosh has
diphthong.
no room for what we call diphthongs. Diphthongs is where you join a consonantal letter with a vowel and an entirely new sound is created.
And I'm going to show you that my teacher's trying to sell somebody that when it comes to Psalms 110, that consonant vowel that in the name Yahuwah, and that they can't be there because there is no vowel attached to the hey. So yeah, I'm going to show y'all that video too. It's going to be all included.
The reason why when we take the letter chet in Hebrew and we join it with the yod and the av vowel, that we have the word chai, that's a diphthong. Lashawan Qadosh doesn't account for that. And what's very important about that, I hope this is not above people's pay grade, what's very important about that is that in biblical Hebrew, it's the combination of letters and pronunciation that dictates meaning. I'm going to say it again. In biblical Hebrew, it's a combination of letter placement and pronunciation that dictates the overall meaning, which means...
Same thing we've been telling people for the last 7 years, since 2018, when we were trying to tell them.
You could have the perfect spelling of a Hebrew word, but if you are not enunciating it properly, you literally just change the meaning. And I'll give about 2 or 3 examples. If we're following Lashawan Qadosh, then the word for king is mala'ak. Okay. So how are we going to say angel? Because in Hebrew, they're spelled the same way. How are we going to say the god Molech?
I literally posted this on my timeline last week, 2 weeks ago. Let's see. Let's go to my post. Let's go to my post. Let's go to my post. Right? Because I do all of this type of stuff. Break it down. But let's find that particular post. This it? Nope. That ain't it. Right here. When people say that they have 2 weeks ago, and I posted it on what's the name, right? What did I have right there? Mem Lamed Conf. What 2 words can you get from there, right? The vowels you speak of are E and A, Melech and Malak. Right? Right? When people say Hebrew had no vowels, that's a lie. It had no written vowels, but it did have spoken vowels. Below is the triconsonantal root, Mem, Lamed, Conf, or MLK. There are also 2 different Paleo-Hebrew words that use the triconsonantal root. They have spoken between each consonant when you say the word. What words are below? Malak, Malik, Melech, and Malak. He's about to give this same example.
Very important about that, I hope this is not above people's pay grade. What's very important about that is that in biblical Hebrew, it's the combination of letters and pronunciation that dictates meaning. I'm going to say it again. In biblical Hebrew, it's a combination of letter placement and pronunciation that dictates the overall meaning.
And I posted that on Facebook that everybody was sharing
you could
as
have
well.
the perfect spelling of a Hebrew
in groups,
word,
etc.
but if you are not enunciating it properly, you literally just change the meaning. And I'll give about 2 or 3 examples. If we're following Lashawan Qadosh, then the word for king is mala'ak. Okay. So how are we going to say angel?
Not mala'ak, but malak.
Because in Hebrew, they're spelled the same way. How are we going to say the god Molech? Because in Hebrew, they're spelled the same way. How are we going to talk about a messenger? You see, there are 3 ideas I just represented that are spelled exactly the same in biblical Hebrew, but each different pronunciation yielded a different meaning. Melech is how we say king. Malak is an angel. Molech is a god that the Creator told us don't worship. So when you're reading a biblical Hebrew text following Lashawan Qadosh, which one is it? Did we go up to anoint
now
Molech
get into the calling show
to reign as king? Did we anoint the angel, or did we anoint David as a man?
I'm going to show y'all the rest of this, and we're going to get into the other stuff.
And if you're offended by that,
my energy bill dropped from $150 to $50 by doing this. My friends laughed at me when I spent $49.
That's because you're stupid. And I'm not calling nobody stupid because I'm hoping nobody's offended by that. But we got to be ready to say, hey, listen, you know what? At the very least,
Patricia Heaton looks great at 67. Here is her #1 secret. Regular milk or oat milk?
Oh, regular milk, but only
Head Hebrew in charge. Brother B, I don't have those issues.
And look, and this is true. Right here, what does he say? This nigga was teaching and believing the wrong doctrine for 20 years, and now he's a reliable teacher. I'm going to show y'all that we've been trying to show him this for the longest. And not only this, is that he went from Old Testament only to New Testament. When y'all start learning the language and start learning the grammar, y'all going to question why he did that. Because what you're going to see is that, man, these people are lying about this. This is not a prophecy of Christ. How is this a prophecy of Christ when it's not written in the imperfect form? It's written in the perfect form. You're going to start seeing things like that. And y'all going to start questioning all these people that y'all put on pedestals in these platforms. All right? So, like...
Facts.
Because my God is right, and that's it. My God is right, and that's it. The best of us get it wrong at times. Getting it wrong don't mean you're unreliable.
He said it gets it wrong. It's not that you got it wrong. You willfully got it wrong, Zion. You blatantly blocked people who was trying to tell you this information back in 2018. 2018, people tried to tell you this same information, and you blocked them. And I'm going to show y'all this.
Getting it wrong and saying that you got it wrong means that you have integrity. And that's clearly something that person doesn't understand.
So unblock all the people that you said that you had blocked that tried to tell you that years ago. Allow them up on your platform. Do things like that then. That would also show integrity as well. And just so y'all know, because I know y'all probably like, well, we keep talking about blocking and this and that. Let's go. So this is MITS. Right? 2021. This is the professor right here. This is my teacher, professor, Mitz. Anybody seen that biopic, right? Because he's been on Zion Lexxs ass for years. 2021. Zion Lexxs, right? Literacy, 2020. Literacy enables you to identify liars. And who does he have right here?
And God created the heavens and the earth. The literal meaning in Hebrew is Bereshit, which means in the beginning. Bara means he created. And I might throw you off with this, Sonetta. The next word is Elohim, which is God. So the first 3 words of the Hebrew Bible says, in the beginning, he created God. It doesn't say in the beginning, God created.
Right.
That's BS. That's BS. You're going to go back and correct your doctrines? That's integrity too. Look at your students right here from 2019. One of my proteges reading biblical Hebrew. Let's look at the comments. What does the post say? How you gonna read it and phonetically pronounce Yahweh as Yahoah? The Vav has a Kametz under it. Hopefully his teacher or someone will correct him 6 years ago. Hopefully his teacher or someone will correct him, right? I do know Zion says Yahweh. I wonder if this is possible. Possibly an example of a new student understanding consonants and the Naku system representation of vowels. Could be. That it couldn't be. Right? But like she said, I want to see him parse all verbs, root all nouns, identify all parts of speech, and then render it to semantically appropriate English. True. All right? But let's listen to how his student.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. You see, this is Deuteronomy. This is a reader's Hebrew Bible. I'm going to show you this right here.
And this is not to down the brother or nothing like that. This is just to show y'all that y'all just be following any and everybody.
You see right there, the 4. That whole thing right there is the Shema. So we see the first letter is Shin. Under the Shin is the Shawah. Then you have the Mem with a Patah. And you have the enlarged Ayin. Remember now, that's a rather enlarged letter, which is the Ayin. Then you have the Yod. Under the Yod, you have the Ciritique, if I'm pronouncing it right.
And under the road, that's a Kamatz right there. That's a Sagal, that's a Kamatz. But yeah, so anyway, let's go up to here. Show you that he's got them blocked. Look, 2021, 2018. Y'all remember when Zion Lexxs was spreading this lie? Yep, that this word is not a compound word. 2018. Paradision crew's been on him for a while. Right? Zion Lexxs is the first individual in NFL history to be drafted right out of Facebook in the first round due to part of his exceptional blocking prowess. Why? Because he had them blocked. 2019. 2020. Right? 2020. Can we get a transcript of some Zion Lexxs more memorable moment statements from the Dagger Squad video? Right?
Elohim, which is also applied to.
This is why Hebrew literacy is so important. It will enable you to recognize a bullshitter from a mile away.
Judges in the land of Israel who.
2021, reshared in 2024, 2020, because he's been going in on Zion because he blocked him. 2018, right? Zion Lexxs block party, right? Now I want to show y'all my teacher, the professor, the same one, right? Because I want to show y'all. See, same right here, Misael. And we're gonna listen to Misael's video.
Whenever you want. Yeah, that was disappointing that I couldn't tag you on here, man. Yeah. So, in any case, moving forward, I was just trying to give you an opportunity to join. The first thing we're going to do is address the Psalm 110 because I believe the brother Leon Israel didn't understand the explanation. So what we're going to do is just kind of talk through it because maybe reading through it was a little more difficult, right? And so in the event that you're not really familiar with the jargon for Northwest Semitic grammar, it can be a little burdensome. So let's just kind of slowly walk through it. So what we're going to do first and foremost, we're going to establish that we want to assert that orthography should not be the sole determinant in the language identification process. So even though I'm electing to utilize this particular script, it doesn't mean that it is one language or another. There are going to be other elements that will determine the language or how we identify this particular language. And it's not going to be the orthography. So the orthography is how the language represents its sound inventory. All right, the grapheme here is the physical representation of the sound unit, and the phoneme is the sound unit. All right, so in the case of ancient Hebrew being a Northwest Semitic language attested as early as the 10th century BCE, its inventory is represented consonantally within its index, meaning that it doesn't have dedicated vowel graphemes. However, it does employ a system where select graphemes are appropriated to represent certain classes of vowels. That system is called matres lectionis, translated into Latin. All right. So here, what we want to do is just establish why we are electing to vocalize in the way that we are, so that we can then substantiate our semantic value or our rendering into syntactically appropriate English. So morphology is what you see, phonology is what you hear, syntax, the arrangement of the constituents of the parts of speech, and then semantics, meaning. So morphology, phonology, and syntax will contribute to semantics. All right. So ancient Hebrew, what we're going to identify as ancient Hebrew, attested as early as the 10th century BCE, is a VSO language syntactically. All right. So again, we're principally looking to superficially analyze morphology, phonology, and syntax. So syntactically, ancient Hebrew, attested as early as the 10th century BCE, is a VSO language, meaning that if we were to look at it, we should probably endeavor to identify the verb, because the verb must agree with the subject. So we have to have subject-verb agreement, meaning that the verb is the action, the subject is the performer of the action. So the verb must agree with the subject in terms of gender and number. So masculine singular verbs have masculine singular looks.
Now, I always ask anybody in Lashawan Qadosh, I ask them the same questions. Show me the verb, show me the masculine. What is the Benayim? The Benyamin, you know what I'm saying? The stem forms. They can never answer.
Plural verbs have masculine plural looks. Feminine singulars have feminine looks. Shalom, shalom, machot. Chachol sader. All right, so now what we want to do, so we don't have any vocal complement here, right? So we are going to have to provide this on our own. So we're not going to be able to blame anybody and say, oh, this is Yiddish because you got dots and, none of that. We're just putting that to bed right now because that.
See, the exact same thing that Zion was just talking about. He's been saying it. So he don't even use that right there. He uses this right here to show you guys that y'all be in error, right? This is Psalms 110. All of them will tell you that Psalms 110 is a prophecy of Christ and all sorts of stuff. It is not. It is not grammatically possible. Okay? First, you have the word Le Adonai, which always refers to a human, not divine. Adonai refers to divine. Okay? And in the with the diacritical marks, you see the vowel placement is different. Okay?
That's kitty time. This is the adult time. So. Yes, that is not even going to be valid here. That's why we elected to utilize this particular script. So I'm going to read through it and then I'll substantiate the vocalization. So, La David Mezmor, Naum Yahweh Nodni, Sheb Limeni, Ad Ashet Oibeko, Chadam Largleko. All right, so Ladoid, we have our inseparable preposition lamed typically we will assign a vowel, and that vowel will be the shortest vowel that we can produce that still allows this consonant to be discernible. So ledoid, and we are assigning an A-class vowel to root radical 1, I-class vowel to root radical 2, and the reason being it allows us to create a noun from an adjective. All right, so if we were to elect to create a name, we could create a name or an entity from an adjectival presentation. So doid, a loved or a beloved thing. All right, so ladoid mizmor, and so we are electing to vocalize this with an I-class vowel, and we're going to call this mem a performative prefix. All right, because the root or the shorish of this noun is going to be zain mem resh. All right, and so now we have to account for, well, why do we have this conspicuous wow here? Right, if the shorish meaning root, is zain mem resh, why is this wow here? Why is this mem here? Well, if the root again is zamr, all right, this wow is matre lectiones to indicate the presence of it.
Now, remember on the other video where I showed you about the yod, hey, bait, mate lectiones? These brothers don't be knowing what they be talking about, and y'all just be following them blindly, right? And then now, something that we've been trying to show and tell Zion Lex and the whole community for 10 years, now all of a sudden it comes out, he's found something new. It's something new. The whole time we've been getting blackballed off of these platforms. Gatekeep it, right? So yeah, let's
an internal U-class vowel. All right, so that being said, so now I can reconstruct and reverse engineer what this vowel would potentially be, because if this is a U-class vowel, I will propose it to be most likely an O, and then I'll slide back here and supply a short schwa, or the shortest vowel that allows this zain to be discernible, which is pretty consistent with a call or the G stem infinitive construct. So I'm going to create a noun from this infinitive construct by supplying a performative mem with an I-class vowel, mizmor, so creating more along the lines of the derivative of a song process, or a melody, a tune. So, you know, a tune, a song, a melody, bars, right? And for whom?
That's what I wanted to show y'all. Like I said, we've been trying to show and tell brothers this information. Okay, so now back to the video. Right? Why they don't have my teachers on this show, on platforms like these.
And also too, hey, Shalom 144. Hey, listen, comment.
And I speak.
Hold on, we're gonna get to the part where.
Also the language.
Holistically, that feel differently. And
Sakai, aka Deacon Genesis, aka Deacon Sakari. I just want to give a mighty, mighty shalom to their brother Zion Lex, man. Powerful, powerful presentation.
Facts.
Big salute to you, man. We come a long way, right?
Man, you know we did. We got to do it. Like my brother Hassad said, we're going to either have to grow or get left behind.
That's it, brother. That's it. By the way, I did check out you guys' presentation on this particular platform, and I agree with you.
All praise to the Most High, brother. I appreciate you, man. And, you know, I don't know, it had to be Satan and the demons that we haven't linked up in the almost 20 years I've been hearing about you.
Likewise, man. Likewise. You know, sometimes differences arise among brothers, And we all have our clique, we all have our people that we're with. And sometimes out of allegiance to others, we get carried away. I got carried away in harboring hatred for certain Israelite groups because of who I had allegiance to. And some of us have that as well. But I could definitely tell you this.
And I agree on that right there. I don't hate any Israelite group. I don't hate any of that. I just be questioning what they teach and this and that and why they lying to the people. That's all.
I know you're a real one. And one thing about being a real one is real recognize another real one. Dash, and a person might want to say Yashara since the inception of the world.
Okay, so when it says certain translations say,
I forgot about his question.
And any nation that would have accepted the rule, decree, and law of God would have earned and merited that name. Dash, and a person might want to say Yasharal or Yasharala.
You're gonna get to the question, and I'm gonna do a video on that
so
question.
The name
too.
of the creator
look at that.
is
It's the Hebrew
literally
grammar
on
to see
us.
if that's true what Zion
Now,
said.
I want to say that the figurative way of looking at it is that we were called as the Son of the Most High from since the.
and me and Hassad said, we're going to put together a drink to the Most High, brother. I appreciate you, man. And, I don't know. It has to be Satan and the demons that we haven't linked up in the almost 20 years I've been hearing about you.
Likewise, man. Likewise. Sometimes differences arise among brothers. And we all have our clique, we all have our people that we're with. And sometimes out of allegiance to others, we get carried away. I got carried away in harboring hatred for certain Israelite groups because of who I had allegiance to. And some of us have that as well. But I could definitely tell you this. I know you're a real one. And one thing about being a real one is real recognize another real one. There's no reason why from this day forward we shouldn't go on to build.
Oh,
facts.
And you know what's crazy? Before we even tuned in, me and Hassad said we're gonna put together a dream team. I can't say the other brothers who we said we wanted on the dream team, but we for sure said Zion, Lexxs.
You know who needs to be on a dream team? Him. If they serious about everything that they talking about, they'll reach out to this college professor that teaches Ugaritic, Aramaic, and classical biblical Hebrew that everybody reaches out to. If they were serious. If not, it's going to be a bunch of other type of stuff.
Has to be on this dream team.
I'm with it.
Oh,
I'm with it.
Well, I got one question, and I'll let the rest of the callers get to it. In Amos 9 and 12, there's a little bit of controversy over this. In Amos 9 and 12, when it says those that are called by my name, who are being called by the name of the Most High in Amos 9 and 12?
All those who are called by name, Kol Hanikra, Wewishmi, Weli, Kavodi, Barati, Af, Yasarti. All who are called by my name, I have created for my glory. Right. I'm familiar with that passage. He's talking about Israel. When the Creator says that Israel is called by his name, that is a literal truth and that's a figurative truth. It's a literal truth because all of us basically have theophoric names. My name is Abdiel. We're called Yisrael. Even if we borrow from Lashawan Qadosh and a person might want to say Yasharal or Yasharala, that contains a theophoric name. So the name of the Creator is literally on us. Now, I want to say that the figurative way of looking at it is that we were called as the Son of the Most High from since the creation of the world. We mirror what the Messiah does, but on a smaller level. So just as the Messiah is a Mashiach, an anointed one, we too are called anointed ones in the scripture, except that the Mashiach or the Messiah is anointed to do a much grander job, and we are anointed to do a job that is lesser, but we are one and the same, and we have a lot in common. The Messiah is God's son. We also are.
So that's incorrect right there. In Amos 9 and 12, it says, Sa'arit udam wakal hagoyim asanakra sami alahim. Goyim hagoyim. The remnant of Edom and all the Gentiles who are called by my name. But they talking about a dream team. Y'all see what he just did? What he was saying, the explanation, right? That he just gave. That's why I keep telling y'all, man, learn the language, man, yourself. Quit following people. Quit putting people on pedestals. quit doing that, man. The faster that y'all learn the language and start coming back to Yahweh alone, Hashem alone, the faster we can get out of this situation, man. Stop with the BS. Till the next video, I bid you lehitarot mispacha. Peace and blessings, family. Shalom, shalom.
Great job. Sing unto Yahweh a new song. Sing unto Yahweh, let all the earth call. Bless his name and show forth his salvation from day to day. Declare his glory amongst the heathens and wonder amongst the people. Every morning and evening I give him praise. The false gods are vain by the Most High. The skies was made, nothing new under the sun. Yeah, these times don't change. I guide my steps, direct and devise my ways. Honor and majesty, my Yah retain. Beauty is in the sanctuary amongst the saints. Give Yah glory and strength. Search far and wide across the seven seas for a sign, but never seen a God alive like Yah, my Elohim.